Hi everyone, we're going to go over installing MySQL on a Windows system. So this could be Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows 11, Server. It does not matter. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to go to Google and just search MySQL and go to the website and go to downloads. And from here we have a couple options. Enterprise Edition, obviously you're going to pay for that. That's probably going to be for more of a corporate environment. We're going to look at the Community Edition, which is free to download. A couple things I want to point out here. We're going to be looking at the installer, which includes all of the products you can select, right? So you can select the workbench, the router, the shell, all that good stuff. For that, the latest is, I think, 8.0.34. However, last month they did come out with a new version, the 8.1, which I have not messed around with any. But we're going to go over the installer for 8.0.34. Pretty simple compared to, say, setting this up on a Linux environment. However, I will have another video on how to do this in CentOS 7. Along with other videos on some basics around SQL, some basic commands, creating a database, going over schema, things like that. So let's go ahead and download. And here you really don't need to sign up or log in. We're just going to go, no thanks, start my download. And there we have it. I'm going to run that, say yes, and say yes. So a couple options you have here. You could do server only, client only, and notice it'll give you a description. So client only, it only gives you like the workbench and the shell, essentially for um, manipulating your data and connecting to the server and performing all the functions. Full, essentially you'll get the server plus all the client stuff. Or you can do custom. Custom is a little bit different because, watch if we go next, you can actually go in here and select, what versions you want to add, right? Maybe you want to do a 5.7 with, I don't know, Workbench 8 or 8.31, whatever, right? So that's a little bit different. We're going to just do a full install, which will just install all the latest features, components. So we'll go ahead and see how it has all the different versions of what's going to be installed. So we'll go ahead and execute this. Download. Looks like I got errors. I'm going to go back and hit next again. Hit execute. Yeah, see now it downloaded. I'm not sure why it didn't, but essentially I have all the products now downloaded. I'll go ahead and hit next. Now with all those products downloaded, I'm going to hit execute. And don't mind the two start menus. I am just running a virtual machine for this installation process. That is done. We'll hit next. So we have these components that are ready to configure. So we'll hit next. And you have a few options, right? And essentially these options just equate to how much resources it'll use, right? So for a development computer, you can use minimal, server, medium, dedicated just to MySQL. Um, it'll use more, right? So for development, maybe you're installing this on a Windows 11 machine like I'm here, and you're just using this in your development environment. You're writing code and using this as your backend, right, for testing. Server, maybe you have a server that's running all your components. So you'll have more memory usage, but not full scale. Um, in a dedicated computer, you might see this more in a corporate environment, such as one I work in. We have our servers that run just the SQL server, and then we have application servers, and then we have web servers and so forth. Each server runs a different component. Um, so I'm just going to select development computer, leave the default ports, and I'm going to make sure I have this checked off so it'll automatically open those on the Windows firewall. Next, and I'm going to say I always use this. Obviously for security purposes, you want to make sure that you're using the latest encryptions for security reasons. Hit next, and now we're going to select a root password, and I should help if I put my numlock on. Right, and here you could also add additional users. So I'm going to do it here. And all hosts, this essentially means that it can connect from anywhere, or if you ditch the local host, it'll connect from this computer that the server is running on. Um, in my next videos, we'll get over more configuration stuff, and you can add a user and essentially say, hey, this person can only connect from this network or this IP or however you want to set that up. And then we have our different roles. So I'm just going to go DB admin, so I have access to everything. There we go. And next. And I'm just going to give it that service name. Now, one thing I'll point out is um, very convenient to run it as a Windows service. In a development environment, I'd probably say I'm not going to start it when the system starts because in a development environment, I might not need to run that service all the time, right? And I could say from my personal experience, I've done this, working on projects and coding. I've left this unchecked because I didn't need it to run and utilize all of my resources all the time, right? So we'll leave that unchecked for this development environment. And we're going to let it run on our standard system account as a service and grant it full access to actually run as a service. Um, you could also say, hey, let me review and say, select the groups and all that stuff that would have access. But we're going to keep it simple. And based on everything that we just configured, we're going to execute. And that is done. We'll hit finish. Next item is ready to configure. So we're not going to get too much into the Bootstrap router for this. We're going to just leave all the defaults here. Hit finish. Samples. We'll just put the samples in there. Go execute. Finish. And next. And we're going to run Workbench after. Finish. And let's see. Go to Task Manager. Look at services. You'll see that it's there as a service and it's already running. So when Workbench starts up, we should be able to connect to it. There it is. There we go. That's a successful setup. The other thing we could do is test here, localhost, and account that I made, right? Make sure that works. Able to connect, no issues. and that's pretty much it. So in my other next videos, we'll get into installing this on OS 7. We'll also get into um, some of the I guess more detailed stuff, more important stuff. This was pretty simple, but things like schemas, creating a database, creating users, getting them access to certain databases, um, performing some select functions, updating records, inserting records, all that good stuff.